origins of a live-action adaptation for the iconic Cowboy Bebop Japanimation series from 1998 date back from roughly 2017. The original plans were that an American take of this series would be done, and that it wouldn't exactly be faithful to the Japanese source material of the story, characters depicted in the series, or the feel or tone of what would be presented. As in 2018, the American streaming service of Netflix would be streaming the series. Criticisms further held that the developers of this series also decided to look further than the animation in terms of what they wanted or desired to add, as well as what they considered would be good for the Netflix audience. Heads of the adaptation also didn't have much experience with Japanese animation, nor did they watch much for the Cowboy Bebop live-action series. This lack of knowledge, or desire to learn more about the original source material, had the series later on severely affected by the quality of the characters' interactions for the Netflix adaptation. Consensus were that the developers of the series would try to be faithful to the original story of Cowboy Bebop, but were also eager to create their own interpretation of the series as well. When it came to the characters that were depicted within the animation, there were much claims of criticisms in the fact that they varied from character to character. Details had it that the actor who played Spike, being of Asian descent, was done on purpose, due to executives wanting a somewhat well-known actor to play Spike, as he would have been seen as the face of the series. Being of Asian descent was also interpreted as possibly pandering to the viewers of the adaptation that might have known about the original Japanese animational source material, and used the ethnicity choice of an Asian man with the background preferred as a sort of fan-based ploy. During the production of the series, the actor who had played Spike actually suffered a knee injury that halted development of the adaptation for roughly 8 months. During this time, developers of the series implemented further changes. Criticisms of the Netflix adaptation considered this injury to be a bad omen of what was to come with the live-action series. Faye's choice of dress was also different from the original Japanimation to the adaptation. The original had Faye's outfit as such done on purpose due to plot elements of the story, and these details connected to the character deciding to be sexualized as she was within the series. But from information now known, how did that Faye's outfit couldn't be done from a stunt woman's point of view, as well as developmental concerns that Faye's outfit would be too sexualized. So instead, the wardrobe selection seen within the adaptation was created instead. When news was announced that Jet was being played by an African descent actor, there were immediate criticisms about the ethnicity choice, but executives desired an aspect or detail of diversity among the characters of the Netflix adaptation series, so despite concerns, the choice was approved and implemented. Popular consensus had it that even though the adaptation ended up being what it was, the actor who played Jet was considered to be one of the best in the series. Prodigal Edward also briefly appeared in the final episode of the adaptation, as there were criticisms that though the character appeared a few episodes into the original Japanimation, executives of the series kept the inclusion of Ed as a secret because they were afraid that if fans learned that Ed only briefly appeared in the final episode of the first season of the series, they would have demanded to possibly see more of Ed in the first season, or wait until a possible second season before the character would have been properly introduced, as many did wonder why such an important character would have been introduced in the final episode of the first season. Vicious had much criticisms due to the fact that in the animation he was depicted as cold, calculated, and ruthless. In the Netflix version of the series, he was depicted as somewhat emotional, careless, and not exactly threatening at all. The whole premise of Vicious seemed out of place when compared to the original Japanimation, which took a great deal of time to explain the character of Vicious through multiple episodes. But with the Netflix version condensing everything into just 10 episodes, it was viewed as rushed. Julia was also seen as something slightly different when compared to the original Japanimation. Information now known that the actress who played Julia was actually pregnant at the time of filming, which explained the lack of details depicted in the adaptation. But the situation with the syndicate depicted in the adaptation is also something different than what viewers had in mind for the adaptation. Shinichiro Watanabe, the director of the original Japanimation, was also involved with production of the series as a consultant, but there were skepticisms as to how involved he was with the adaptation, and if any of his suggestions or criticisms were actually taken seriously with the live-action adaptation. It's now known that his suggestions weren't exactly implemented for the series, and he was mostly that of a figurehead to give legitimacy to the adaptation. The Netflix live-action adaptation was originally supposed to be released on Netflix in the year of 2020, but due to the knee injury and the COVID-19 pandemic, it was released on the 19th of November 2021 and cancelled on the 9th of December, less than 3 weeks after its release on the streaming service. A character can be overrated yet hated because the adaptations of characters, as well as the series itself from which they originated, were so different from the source material that none was satisfied with it at all.